Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to interactive webinar, How to Be Your Own Best Advocate in the New Normal. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm a certified coach, and I specialize in leadership and negotiation skills for ambitious professionals. I have a lot of immediately useful strategies, tips, frameworks, scripts that I'm going to share with you today. And I want you to just relax and enjoy this webinar. And at the same time, I want you to commit to just trying one thing, one framework, one strategy, or maybe it's just one turn of phrase that you encounter in the next 30 to 45 minutes. How can I use this? How can I apply it to be my own best advocate? Because, there's a lot of knowledge out there and there's a ton of information out there. But until you apply that information into action, it doesn't have any power. So when you apply information into action, that's when you have power. So I want you to commit to just trying one thing. Just test it out for yourself. Because, I have a lot of strategies, tips, and tactics, but unless you test it for you and you know for you that it works, it has no power. Okay, so again, I just want you to commit to just trying one thing. There are lots of different things that you can try. Yes, even in this new normal, to show up as your own best advocate. So a lot of people ask me, how'd you get started? What got you into this coaching business? And I have to answer that it started from a really young age. I feel I've had a lifelong trainer. And that's my mom. I immigrated to America 30 years ago in 1989. It's been literally just 30 years. Blows my mind. And in this picture, I'm the baby in the middle. And this was taken in South Korea. Shortly thereafter, my mom had another baby girl. So the 3 daughters, and my mom immigrated to America 30 years ago, and long story short, she ended up raising the 3 of us by herself. And she came here not speaking English. She still speaks English a little bit worse than Margaret Cho's mom. If you're not familiar with who Margaret Cho is Awkwafina's predecessor. And she used to do this hilarious impersonation of her mom's thick Korean accent. I'd be like, oh my God, that's just like my mom, except my mom's English is a little bit worse. Nonetheless, when we were growing up in New Jersey as immigrant latchkey kids, my mom would encourage me to speak up, be brave, go get what you ask for, not what you deserve. And the reason for this was because as somebody who completed 2 years of ESL, English as Second Language, by the time I was age 10, I was the one who was advocating on behalf of my family with phone companies, utilities companies. I spoke English a little bit better than my mom. And so I was the one who had to speak up, be brave, and ask for things. And you know what? When I was growing up, I didn't appreciate how correct my mom was, how right she was about these lessons that now I teach to my clients. I was like, no, I just want to be liked by everyone. I don't want to be the girl who speaks up and makes waves. I want to be liked. I want to be, nice and quiet. And I took this mentality with me into the working world, where I found out the hard way that, oh boy, was my mom right. Getting passed over for promotions, finding out that I was underpaid the going market range because I hadn't spoken up, because I hadn't asked for what I wanted. I thought I was just gonna get what I deserved. I didn't have to ask for it, yeah? And I've been a negotiation leadership coach for 4 years now, and I see these are the top 5 reasons why people don't advocate for themselves, okay? And right now in this new normal, the first one is one I hear most often. I should just wait and see. Where things settle. Things are so uncertain right now, and people are telling me I should wait and see. So I think I just need to wait and see. I shouldn't advocate. I shouldn't, stick my neck out, make waves. For me, right now, it's just best time to wait and see. And this comes from thinking that, speaking up, articulating your value, advocating for what you want is not the right time. And I want to offer, what if there never is the right time? Especially if you're watching this, you're somebody who's ambitious, somebody who works hard, somebody who has goals, and you like to feel certain. You want to feel ready. You want to feel prepared. You want to feel it's safe to speak up. And I want to offer, what if there really is never a time where you will feel 100% ready, certain, safe? There's always going to be that element of risk. Yeah. I learned this the hard way myself early in my career. I had done this thing where I was working in procurement. I did this cost reduction program where the company through this program was going to save $100,000 in package costs. And I was like, wow. I was making $40,000 then. I was like, wow, I'm going to save the company $100,000, so much money. I'm going to, for sure, get a promotion because I presented this program to the senior leaders in a meeting. And I was like, it's coming. I don't have to do anything. I should just wait. They're going to give me the promotion. Plus, I don't want them to see me as arrogant. I was raised, as a woman, as a girl, to be nice, even though my mom was also telling me to speak up and be brave, but also there was socialization from the media, from the world. And I thought, I don't want to stick my neck out. What if they think I'm being arrogant? What if they think I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing? Yeah, I was worried about their judgment. And I also thought, my work should speak for itself. I saved the company $100,000, so much money. Isn't it obvious? Isn't it plainly obvious that I deserve what I want without have to ask for it? And of course, my boss should recognize my value because that's her job. She should just plainly see that I am valuable. I don't know why I have to articulate the value of my contributions, the benefit of that. And ultimately, it all boiled down to I lacked confidence in myself because I was in this mindset where confidence came from other people approving of me, other people giving me praise. I was young at that time. This was like more than 10 years ago. So I was still in that school mentality where I thought I just keep my head down, do good work, and they give you the praise. That's how it works. So I want to offer, if these are the reasons why you don't advocate for yourself, I want to offer that these are all thought problems. How we choose to think about our current circumstances, how we choose to think about what people should do, how we choose to think about who we are and what we're capable of, define our self-confidence and how we're willing to advocate for ourselves. So when we identify the root cause, then we're able to solve for it, okay? And that's the work that I do with my clients, solve for the root cause of the problem. Now, self-advocacy, I want to share with you, this is my definition. It's simply engaging in conversations to articulate who you are, the qualities you bring, the values that you have, and what you do, your work contributions, your actions, how they add value, how they benefit people, benefit the organization, the client, the customers. Like people overthink value. They think, oh, value is like, oh, I got to keep my head down and do a ton of more work. More time means more value means more money. But ultimately, it's not any of that. It could be. Those things can contribute, but ultimately value is how do you benefit, right? A simple shift in perspective can benefit people. How you phrase the question can benefit people. How you solve a problem can benefit people. How you think about it, how you show up to the conversation can benefit people. So I want you to think about how do I want to show up in the conversation to add value? And having said that, So here are three things that I think is really important when you go to advocate for you in this new normal, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, where so many of us are working from home, some of us are furloughed, some of us are taking pay cuts, right? And more than ever, we need to reframe and refocus what it means to advocate for you. And this is the time, more than ever, to focus on process over outcome. How you engage in this conversation is more important than what you say. It's more important than what you ask for. There's a great quote, I think it's by J.F. Kennedy. People remember you not by what you said, but how you made them feel. You're not responsible for other people's feelings, but how you show up in that conversation, how you carry yourself, how you respond to their words influence how they respond back. Your behavior influences their behavior. So you want to be really intentional about how do I want to show up amidst all of this, freaking out and the uncertainty and the anxiety in the world. Do I want to show up anxious? Do I want to show up uncertain? Or do I want to show up certain, confident, calm, collected? Yeah. And also think about future focus. Excuse me, I'm going to get a sip of water from my ginormous cup. More than ever, we are in rumination mode because we're working from home, many of us. And when we're home, we're like thinking about what had happened in the past. Ruminate, yeah? Rumination is the brain's default mode. Going into the past is the brain's default mode. And I want to offer, when we go into the past, it's so easy to get stuck in all the things that didn't go well and how it shouldn't have happened that way, or I didn't get what I want, or I'm not proud of how I handle things. Like we fixate on the things that didn't go well, didn't feel good. So this is the opportunity to override that by using the power of our human brain, our evolved brains, to think about, what do we want the new normal to look like? What do we want the future to look like? I know events are canceled, right? Restaurants and bars are closed, but that doesn't mean that your career is canceled. It doesn't mean that your future is canceled. What do you want it to be? And if you can tell yourself, you can identify what you want the future to be, think about, what do I want for me long term? Like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because here's the trippy thing, the future only exists in your mind. It could, no one can tell you to have a different future in your mind. The only kind of future that you have is the one that you envision. Totally up to you. So why not envision the future you do want and get really clear on why you want that future? Like, I want a future that's defined by growth and evolution. I want to challenge myself to grow beyond my what I call the itty bitty shooty committee, my own brain's limitations and its habits, and I want to grow. That's why I want to engage in these conversations to articulate and communicate my value in the world, right? And finally, you got to focus on giver's gain. This is something that I borrowed from the Business Network International organization. It's a global organization that connects people. And more than ever, we want to be part of the solution and add as much value as you can in your communication. There are people who are, worried, who are freaked out, who are feeling anxious, and there are people who are actively thinking about, okay, how do we move past this? How do we evolve past this? What do we want the future to look like? And you want to be part of that conversation on defining the future, defining solutions to the problem. That's where value is. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to work harder or stay up all night, okay? So having said that, I want to walk you through the 5-step framework that I have to help people address and overcome when there is fear, irrationality in people, especially in these times, right? So what do? We address the fears head on. That's why these 5-step framework, it spells out fears, right? First, we want to address facts only. So let's talk about that. Facts only. If you live in New York City, you may be familiar with New York Governor Cuomo. He's been doing daily press briefings, and every day, at least the ones that I've seen, he starts with, "Today is Wednesday. This is a fact." And last week when I was watching his briefing, he quoted New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who said, "Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but not their own facts. Facts are provable. Facts are neutral." And what I mean by that is, like, when you just look at the facts, it doesn't create emotion in you. When you have an opinion, judgment, thought, conclusion, assessment, that's when you like have an emotion about it. But facts, neutral. You can bring it to the court of law and you can use it as evidence, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because so many smart, ambitious professionals, when I ask them, okay, so what are the facts? They tell me all of their thinking, their opinions. My boss is undermining me. He doesn't recognize my value. My colleague, this person definitely does not contribute as much value as I do, but they're getting ahead. It's not fair. These are all thoughts and opinions. Right? You're entitled to have your opinions, but you want to have facts, okay? And especially for women, smart, ambitious women who feel like, of course I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. I'm putting my head down, getting it done. And they feel like, I'm just doing my job. Why do I even have to like list the facts of what I do? It's just what I do. And in this way, they subtly discount their contributions. And when they discount their contributions, they feel like, what's the point of talking about it, communicating it, articulating it, sharing it with people, who I report to? And so then they don't. And then in, the hypothetical situation, this sort of situation has happened quite often to my clients. They just keep their head down, do good work. They don't bother to, keep a log of facts about their contribution or share it. And then they are appalled to find out Stephen accounts, who they think, my clients, they think Stephen accounts, they don't do as quality work as they do, but Stephen accounts has been sharing the facts of his contributions on a consistent basis with his supervisor, with people and stakeholder. And then these guys, they're like, "Oh my God, Steve is doing a great job," right? So I want to offer, don't discount the facts. If you feel like you're just doing your job, I don't even feel great about it. The reason why you don't feel great about it is because you think that it doesn't matter. You think it's just doing your job. Why should I even, acknowledge, recognize, collect it? But these facts matter because the facts of your contribution build the body of your work that gets you known in your industry. So my suggestion is just, maybe once a week, take 5 minutes, put an egg timer, and just list all of the facts of things you get done. You get done, those are results. Or maybe you're just working towards a result. What is the progress you've made? How can you measure that progress? How many emails did you send out? How many people did you get in touch with? These are all facts. List them. Maintain the evidence file. Update it so that when you go to articulate your value, go to have the conversation, you know exactly what to say. You'll never be at a loss, okay? All right, so let's go to the elephant in the room. Now, there's sometimes you're having a conversation with people and what they say and what they do not match. There's incongruence, or maybe your company's policies, you feel disadvantageous. I just tried to say that word. Okay. And I'm totally bungling it. You know what I mean. Yeah. The policy puts other people at a disadvantage. There you go. I said it now. Okay. And so how do you bring this up to their attention so you could have a conversation that goes forward, not get stuck in stalemate where people are arguing and digging in their heels because they're getting defensive that you called out something that feels very uncomfortable. How do you do that? So this is my suggestion. First, get prepared in advance of the conversation to ask questions, open-ended questions that do not include judgment, accusation, bias. Okay, so let's say you're calling out the elephant, where you're calling out a policy that puts a certain group, maybe working mothers, at a disadvantage in your company, and it's tempting to be like, why did you do that? This makes no sense. It's not fair. Yeah. But when you do, that puts the other side at, they're like, oh, what did I do wrong? I don't want to admit that I did something wrong. There is nothing wrong. And they might just shut down or get angry, right? And you don't want that. You want to engage the conversation, right? So neutralize the questions, brainstorm in advance. What are the questions you want to ask? And then neutralize them. Get more curious, be open. You could ask, why did you do that? You could rephrase it to, what caused you to do that? You could say, are you undermining me? Or you could ask neutrally, what is your thinking process behind this? Yeah. So again, how you engage in the conversation is a huge impact whether the conversation moves forward and you get to agreement. Okay. And if the other side gets riled up, this is your opportunity to lean back and respond in a low and calm tone of voice, like late night FM DJ. This is something that Chris Voss talks about in his book, Never Split the Difference, and I think it's brilliant. And if you've gathered the facts and you've gathered the neutral facts and you prepare to have a factual conversation, you can be neutral, you can be powerful because you can lean back and remain calm, even when the other side gets upset. And when you do that, when you lower your voice in a calm, low tone, it has a calming effect. An example of this, I was just watching The Office. I've been watching The Office every single night while quarantined, and I noticed Jim Halpert. He's a character in the show who does this really well. So if you want to, check that out, just watch Jim Halpert and see how he responds to Michael Scott's crazy behavior. Okay, so I want to offer, yes, these are things that are really easier to do when you're meeting in real person. So many of us, all of our work calls and meetings have become Zoom meetings. So how do you do this? How do you advocate for yourself on Zoom? Sorry about that, my light just went off, but you can still see me. All right, so let's move on. I've been having Zoom meetings, been conducting my coaching and speaking business through Zoom for the past 4 years. And some of the best tips that I've applied in my business, I want to share with you, okay? First of all, practice. Like the key talking points, the most important things that you want to get said, write it down in advance, say it out loud, get on Zoom, do a Zoom chat. You can do it, alone or with a friend. You could record it. You could watch yourself. Yeah, it's something that I've done a lot. Yeah, and also the second thing, I've bolstered my laptop so that you're not like, looking up into my nostrils, so that you can maintain eye contact with the camera. When people can see your eyes, they feel connected to you. When they feel connected to you, they feel more like they can trust you, right? And at the bottom half of this slide, I prepared some communication tips that you can use. Yeah, it's kind of weird these days, yeah? It's kind of surreal to be having so many conversations, high stakes conversations like job interviews, salary negotiation, performance reviews, all happening on Zoom, right? So you can just call out the elephant and say, it's kind of surreal. It's weird. I was hoping we'd have this conversation in real life, but here we are. Call it out, yeah? And also when you are in a meeting with lots of people in a Zoom meeting, this happens, I've noticed when you have a meeting with lots of people get excited and they start talking over each other and then you can't hear anybody. So my recommendation is, first of all, avoid starting your sentences with I, because that people sort of tune out when you do that. So try to start with like so, or what I hear is, or any other way aside from I. Okay. And also repeat yourself slowly, clearly. If your voice got lost in the jumble of all the voices, just say it again, slowly, clearly, until they hear you. Okay, look for the pause and jump in. And also bring notes. You can bring notes, organize your notes, organize your list of facts, right? How you are adding value. So you know what to bring the conversation, to anchor your conversation in the facts of your contribution. Okay, so let's talk about allies. This is so important, so important. And the reason why it's so important is because it's so often overlooked by really smart and ambitious people who feel like, they're results oriented, so they think the results should speak for themselves. Remember, this was one of the reasons why people don't advocate. They feel a result should speak for themselves. They think the boss should recognize their value. They don't realize that it's their responsibility to let people know what they are capable of. You will grow your career not because of what you know. You will grow your career because of who knows what you know. You will grow your career because of who knows what you know. So building a network of allies is really important. And you can still do it. Doesn't mean just because we're working from home, we can't have quick check-ins with our mentors, colleagues, contacts, right? And 51% refers to getting decision makers already bought in, at least 51% of the minimum majority required. And if your boss is the decision maker, then he makes or she makes up the 51%, right? And it's really interesting. You don't have to get everyone bought in. It's not 100, it's just 51%, right? Just a little bit more than half. 1% more than half, okay? So before you have these official conversations, like your performance review, staff meetings, or a client meeting, or when decisions are announced, right? You wanna get ahead of those conversations and let decision makers, stakeholders, influencers know ahead of time what it is that you want. So you could get in alignment so that if you are proposing a new idea, they are already familiar with it. They're already said yes. And this takes legwork. This takes preparation. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not a once and done thing. So when you think about how do I grow my career, think about it in a series of conversations. All right, so I invite you to think about who are people I already know, people who are already in my network that I trust, that I consider as an ally, who's got my back, and who would champion me, who would champion what I'm capable of doing, champion for my potential. By the way, Stony Brook University and Carnegie Mellon did a joint study on mental primes that have been proven to be most effective at increasing the outcomes of women negotiators or women advocates. And they have found that when women prepare in advance as if they were going to negotiate on behalf of their best friend, their outcomes improved. Okay, so think about who is my best friend? Who is my ally? What did they say about me? How would they go to bat for me? And do it for you. Okay, so just a quick aside about that, really fascinating study. But also go to your trusted ally and share your idea with them. And also brainstorm who are people that I know or that people in my network know who's already been there, done that, and can give me a slice of advice. Mentors are so powerful because they give us a vision of what is possible for us, okay? And for me, when I was starting out as a negotiation trainer, I connected with my mentors at She Negotiates, Victoria Pinchon and Lisa Gates, and they told me that I could make a living helping women become more self-confident and helping women advocate for themselves. I'm like, whoa, they're like, yeah, you can make money. I'm like, oh, that's a possibility for me. And so then I pursued it, and here I am 6 years later. It's my full-time job. Ooh, so cool, okay? Decision makers. So yes, your boss, or their boss, somebody who makes the call on whether your idea gets implemented. So you gotta do some like strategic thinking. Think about like, okay, if I really wanted this idea implemented, who has to say yes? Do I even know who must say yes? I once coached this woman who wanted to grow and change her title inside a nonprofit organization. And we successfully did that with the CEO. And she also wanted to ask for a salary increase. And the CEO was like, yeah, of course you deserve it. But then after the conversation, she found out it was the CFO who makes that call. She didn't know that she had to speak to the CFO. So you want to do your legwork in advance. And that's by talking to people you know, talking to the people who've already been there. Identify as many people as possible. And also, if you don't have a great relationship with your decision maker, think about, okay, who has the ear of the decision maker? Who's the influencer? So maybe in your organization, it's the HR person who has the ear of senior managers, or maybe it's vice versa, right? If you want to run something by a client and the client always defers to their spouse is the influencer, right? So this takes legwork, research, preparation, like thinking through from their side and thinking about like, what does it take to get my idea implemented, and thinking about how getting your idea implemented is a multi-party conversation. And also, I want to add, think about like friend of a friend, client, all the other people who can help advance your idea, get your idea implemented. Think strategically about that. Okay, so let's move on. Let's think about, okay, now that we have talked about 51% rule of savvy, how do you engage in these one-on-one informal conversations so that you increase the chance of you getting heard, your points getting heard, you getting through? And that's, of course, you got to articulate their perspective. You have to think from their brain. What are they thinking? What makes them tick? What do they most care about? What are they afraid of? And in order to do that, I think this simple framework is super helpful. Again, this is from Chris Voss in his book, Never Split the Difference. He says that there are 3 types of negotiators. And I've just changed it to 3 types of advocates. And you want to be able to assess if I were to just try to categorize the person that I'm speaking with, the person I'm having a conversation with, what type might they fall into? Are they an assertive type? Somebody who's very decisive, somebody who prioritizes winning over people. Winning is more important. Achieving their goals is more important than being liked. They tend to dominate the conversation. They tend to never lack an opinion on a topic. And they're very decisive. They always know what they want, and they will tell you, and they will try to take it all. Give an inch, take a mile. That's kind of the mentality that assertive people have. And analytical people are methodical with facts. They love facts. They love to gather as much facts as possible. So maybe you already have an evidence file if you are an analytical type. You don't like to make mistakes. You're slow to decide. You don't like surprises, and you like to take time to think through everything. So when things get silent, it means you're just thinking, how do I make the correct decision here? Okay. And analytical people, because they hate surprises, you want to be able to warn them early if there are going to be surprises. If you're dealing with this type, you want to come prepared with facts and data, because that's what they will ask for. That's what they want. And then there are people who are accommodating, people who are very charming, and they love to build relationships. They love to build rapport, but their weakness is that they tend to defer decision to other people instead of deciding. So Michael Scott is a classic example of this accommodating type in the office. I'm curious, when you see this, which type do you think you are? And how does that impact how you show up in these conversations, and how you engage with other people? Okay, a lot of my clients tend to see themselves as either analytical, accommodating, or a combination of both. Okay, so now that we've talked about, how to assess the type so we can think about the perspective, now let's think about how do you tailor the solution. Remember, articulating your value, advocating for your value is being part of the solution. It's showing that you're adding value by offering solutions that they most care about. Okay, so here are some sample scripts for you, okay? So this is when you are addressing an assertive type. You want to tell them, I get it. You want to win. You hate to lose. And I'm confident that this will help us win. And I think when you're speaking with an assertive type, you want to show up strong, assertive, and confident as well, because that's what they respect. Yeah. Analytical type, you can tell them, all right, I get it. Having accurate data on time, getting things, doing things correctly, it's important to you. And since this is your biggest concern, I'm going to update you regularly with data at these intervals. Analytical people like consistency of information, communication. Accommodating type, you tell them, I get it. Relationships drive our team's success. And here's how our efforts are delighting our clients, because I understand that's what's important to you. Okay. So think about, when I'm talking with a specific type, how can I tailor my solution so that they get it? They feel like, oh, this person understands what's most important to me. Okay. And I want to offer, when you are talking with these different types and talking about results you're working to achieve, right? In other words, the results have not yet been accomplished. By the way, that doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. It doesn't mean that you're falling short. It just means you're working to achieve it. I mean, 98% of the time, we're going to be working to achieve results. That's just life. That's just how it is, right? But doesn't mean that you can't talk about it. It means that you want to, it's an opportunity for you to articulate your value, even when you're talking about things that are still in progress, still not done, okay? So again, alignment, tell them, I hear it. It seems this is most important to you. It seems winning or accurate data or building relationships is most important to you. And I understand it. And here's what's been accomplished to drive this forward. Okay. And from there, you want to say, and here's how we benefit from that. So let me give you an example. If you are working on a data visualization project, you can say, and let's say you're talking with the CFO, who's very cost conscious. You can say, I understand the cost of customer acquisition is something that you really care about. It's a metric that you watch. And here's what I've done so far to drive customer acquisition costs down. I have created a visualization project that will help us see how these different factors impact the cost of customer acquisition. And here's how we benefit from that. This way we get to have visibility into rising costs, And here's what's possible. We'll be able to bring costs down by adjusting the levers as needed. Okay. So the point here I'm trying to drive is, again, make sure you address what is most important to the listener, which I'm going to guess is when you talk to decision makers or people who are influencers, right? Or potential mentors, people you want to get helped by, or people whose buy-in you want. And then you tell them how they will benefit from what you have done and what you will do. Okay, so finally, I want to end this with a quick exercise. How you advocate for you is not just a once and done event. It's how you engage in a series of conversations with lots of different people, how you show up to those conversations consistently. And it starts with how you talk about you and the work that you do. So I want to invite you to think about, how can I articulate the benefit of my actions in this super simple framework that you see here. I do something so that this benefit, happens, or this benefit is possible to this group of people. And it could be your company, your clients. So in this example, I turn fresh design ideas into reality so that our marketing stands out from the competition. I create profitable partnerships that drive our business forward. I help ambitious professionals develop self-confidence so they can advocate for themselves. That one's mine. So I want to invite you to take some time to think this through. Just draft it. It doesn't have to be correct. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just think about, how can I articulate the benefit? Who benefits? Who wins? Who am I impacting with my actions? And how can I articulate it in one sentence, so that next time I go to give an update at a company meeting and they were like, okay, so who are you and what do you do? You know how to articulate your value. Okay, so that was a lot of things. We talked about facts only, elephant in the room, how to call it out diplomatically, neutrally, allies, the rule of 51%, getting 51% bought in ahead of the formal decision making. Okay, how to articulate their perspective by assessing their most important needs and concerns, and how to tailor the solution so you articulate the benefit of what you do. All right. So I have a few more minutes. If you have any questions, this is your opportunity. Otherwise, if you're not already on my newsletter list, I have more scripts that you can download on my site, jamieleecoach.com. And if you are interested in taking this work further, if you want to be able to apply it from a mindset of self-confidence, where you are very firm from inside out and you want to be able to authentically communicate the value of you in a way that compels other people to see your value, that makes you magnetic to other people, I can help you. I do the mindset work and I do the strategy work for my clients as well. So if that's what you're interested in, apply for a quick consult by coming to jamieleecoach.com/apply. Otherwise, that was it. So if there are no more questions, thank you so much for attending. I hope you found this helpful. And again, my suggestion is just take one thing, try it out. All right, I will be back next Wednesday at a different time with a new webinar. All right, I will see you then. Thank you.